Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today, we are not just discussing a change in technology, we are discussing a change in the geology of the internet. For the last 20 years, the digital world rested on tectonic plates that were surprisingly stable. At the center of it all was a single behavior, a single verb, and a single business model. The verb was search. The model was the click. The compact was simple. You typed a query, Google provided 10 blue links, and the open web monetized the traffic. That era is officially over. We have entered the age of the answer engine. This is a paradigm shift, driven by generative AI, that has not only upended the technology stack, but has triggered the most significant antitrust showdown since the breakup of AT&T. As we stand here, in early 2026, the landscape of information retrieval is unrecognizable compared to the stable monopoly of the 2010s. The US Department of Justice has secured a landmark victory against Google. The European Union has launched aggressive interventions through the Digital Markets Act. And perhaps most interestingly, there are fratricidal tensions boiling within the Microsoft-OpenAI alliance. All of this has created a chaotic, high-stakes battlefield. In this episode, we are going to perform a comprehensive autopsy on the death of the 10 blue links, analyze the legal wars defining the future of the internet, and explore the rise of a new, potentially more dangerous form of digital monopoly, the AI oligopoly. Let's begin by understanding the product crisis, because to understand the regulatory crisis, you have to understand how the machinery has changed. For 2 decades, Google's monopoly was built on indexing. Its value proposition was that of a librarian. A librarian does not know the answer to every question, but they know exactly which book contains the answer. This model created a symbiotic, if somewhat uneasy, relationship with the open web. Google needed content creators to have something to index, and those creators needed Google for distribution. It was a referral economy. But the release of ChatGPT, followed rapidly by Google's Gemini and Perplexity AI, replaced the librarian with the oracle. We have shifted to zero-click economics. In the AI era, search engines no longer redirect users. They synthesize answers. Think about the user experience shift. If you ask, what are the best hiking boots for flat feet? The old model would send you to Outdoor Magazine or a runner's blog. You would click, you would read, and that publisher would serve you an ad. That click was the currency of the internet. Today, an LLM reads the magazine's review, digests it, compares it with 5 other sources, and presents a summarized answer directly on the search results page. In 2024, this was a feature. Now, in 2026, it is the standard. For the consumer, this is unparalleled convenience. The cognitive load of synthesis is offloaded to the machine. But here is the antitrust problem. If the platform effectively becomes the publisher, the economic engine of the open web stalls. The referral link has been devalued to near zero. Regulators are now grappling with a novel question. Is accurate, synthesized information an antitrust violation if it destroys the suppliers of that information? This brings us to the defining legal event of this decade, the conclusion of the United States versus Google remedies phase in late 2025. This trial, presided over by Judge Amit Mehta, offered a fascinating glimpse into how the judiciary struggles to regulate exponential technology with linear laws. The outcome shocked many legal scholars, because Google's defense team successfully weaponized the rise of AI to avoid a corporate breakup. The Department of Justice argued that Google's 90% market share in search was an illegal monopoly maintained by exclusive contracts, most notably the $20 billion per year deal to be the default search engine on Apple devices. However, Google argued that the definition of search had fundamentally changed. They pointed to OpenAI, TikTok, and Amazon as answer engine competitors. Judge Mehta's final ruling in September 2025 reflected this complexity. First, there was no structural breakup. The court rejected the DOJ's request to force Google to sell Chrome or Android. The logic was geopolitical. The court feared that breaking up the integrated stack would harm American competitiveness in the AI arms race against China. However, the court did strike down the exclusive default agreements. Google can no longer pay Apple to be the default search engine on the iPhone. This led to the choice screen mandate. Users setting up a new device in 2026 are now presented with a ballot screen, forcing them to actively choose between Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, and crucially, new AI entrants like ChatGPT Search and Perplexity. But here lies the paradox of remedies. The irony is palpable. By the time the courts freed Apple from its Google contract, the value of default search had already diminished. Users were no longer just searching via Safari, they were querying via chatbots and voice agents. The law successfully regulated the internet of 2015, but we are living in 2026. While the United States focused on contracts, the European Union focused on architecture. The Digital Markets Act, or DMA, has proven to be the most aggressive regulatory framework in the world, treating big tech not as companies, but as gatekeepers akin to public utilities. In January 2026, the European Commission opened new proceedings targeting Google's Android ecosystem. But the focus was no longer just on search defaults, it was on AI layer interoperability. The EU's argument is radical. They argue that if Google integrates its Gemini AI into the core of Android, deeply embedding it into the calendar, email, and maps, it creates an insurmountable barrier for rivals. This is what we call the context war. An AI assistant is only as good as the personal data it can access. Google Gemini knows your schedule because it has access to your calendar. It knows your location via Maps and your communications via Gmail. However, competitors like Perplexity or ChatGPT, running as third-party apps, are blind to this system-level data due to privacy sandboxes. The EU is demanding that Google open these system-level APIs to competitors. In the eyes of Brussels, if a user chooses ChatGPT as their assistant, ChatGPT must have the same ability to read an Android user's calendar as Gemini does. This establishes a new frontier of antitrust, data access as a human right. While Google fought in open court, a quieter, perhaps more profound concentration of power was solidifying in Redmond and San Francisco. The partnership between Microsoft and OpenAI has strained the definitions of merger control. By 2025, the Federal Trade Commission began investigating the circular nature of the AI economy. The mechanism is elegant and terrifying. Microsoft invests $13 billion into OpenAI. However, that investment is paid largely in cloud credits for Azure usage. OpenAI then uses those credits to rent GPUs from Microsoft. Microsoft then books this rental as revenue. This structure allows the giants to subsidize their own ecosystems while locking startups into their cloud infrastructure. The FTC argues this is not a partnership, but a vertical foreclosure of the market. If the only way to build a frontier model is to pay a tax to Microsoft, Amazon, or Google for cloud compute, can a true independent competitor ever exist? This has led to the OpenAI revolt. Reports in late 2025 suggested that OpenAI itself was considering an antitrust complaint against its benefactor, Microsoft. The central tension is compute scarcity. If Microsoft prioritizes its own Copilot AI over OpenAI services for GPU allocation, it effectively throttles its partner competitor. This reveals the fragility of the current ecosystem. There are no independent AI companies. There are only satellites orbiting the hyperscaler planets. Now, let's look at the most emotional front of this war: the battle between creators and synthesizers. This is the publisher's dilemma, where copyright is antitrust. AI models are trained on the open web. They scrape the collective knowledge of humanity to build their intelligence. When they answer a query, they are effectively reselling that knowledge without compensating the originator. The publisher argument, led by entities like the New York Times and Axel Springer, is that this is theft. It destroys the incentive to create. If AI eats the web, eventually there will be no new data to train on, leading to the model collapse theory. The tech argument is that this is simply reading. Just as a human can read a library and learn, a machine can read the web and learn. They argue it is transformative fair use. Antitrust regulators are inching toward a solution that treats search data as a public utility. In the 2026 proceedings, the EU discussed forcing Google to share click and query data with rivals. The logic is that Google's 20-year advantage in knowing what people ask and what they click is an unassailable data moat. By forcing them to license this data to new entrants on fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory terms, regulators hope to jumpstart competition. However, this creates a privacy nightmare. How do you share the world's search history without exposing the world's secrets? As we move deeper into this decade, we are transitioning from information retrieval to task completion. We are moving from search to agents. Old search was, find me a flight to Tokyo. The result was a list of Expedia links. The AI agent model is, book me the flight to Tokyo that fits my meeting schedule, using my saved credit card. The result is a ticket in your inbox. This shift moves the antitrust bottleneck from the browser to the operating system. If the OS controls the action layer, the ability to press buttons, enter credit cards, and open apps, then the OS owner controls the economy. Regulators fear that AI agents will become the ultimate super apps. If a single AI interface becomes the dashboard for your entire digital life, spanning shopping, banking, and travel, the underlying apps become invisible commodities, stripping them of their brand power and customer relationships. So what does the future hold? As we look toward 2027 and beyond, three scenarios define the future of digital antitrust. The first is the entrenchment scenario. In this version, behavioral remedies fail. The data advantage of Google and the compute advantage of Microsoft prove too strong. The web bifurcates into the big two walled gardens. The open web dies, replaced by authorized content partners who feed the models. The second is the fragmentation scenario. Here, interoperability mandates work. We see a proliferation of specialized AI agents, a medical AI, a shopping AI, a coding AI, connected by open protocols. The general search engine disappears, replaced by a federation of experts. The third is the public option. Governments realize that information retrieval is too critical to be left to private monopolies. We see the rise of sovereign AI models and open-source search indices funded by public money, similar to CERN for the web, to ensure that human knowledge remains a public good. In conclusion, the era of digital antitrust has evolved into cognitive antitrust. We are no longer regulating the price of oil or the distribution of railways. We are regulating the flow of human knowledge and the synthesis of truth. The US versus Google trial was not the end of the war, it was the opening salvo. As AI reshapes the definition of search, the regulators of the world face a race against time. Can they codify fair play before the silicon giants code it out of existence? The answer lies not in the software, but in the courage of our institutions to reimagine competition for an age where the machine doesn't just find the answer, it becomes the answer. Thanks for listening to this deep dive on G Fun Facts Online.